morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame. Right now, a super narrow range heading into the RTH Open. 10.75 points of range right now. That's 21% of average. You can see how compressed that price action is, and going into any intraday periodicity here, you'll see how compressed that price action has been throughout the day. Again, it could be a fade the edges start to the day as the market awaits and anticipates Fed Chair Powell later on this morning at 11:35 a.m. Central Time. Fed Chair Powell speaks. Later on in the week, we do have quite a bit of on the economic calendar here, including GDP on Thursday and core PCE and PCE price index on Friday. So we do have quite a bit coming up ahead, but Fed Chair Powell on deck for today. Later on, 11:35 a.m. Central, and so far the market in kind of a wait-and-see mode ahead of that. We could continue to see some sideways range-bound action, but with a very bullish bias. This market has taken the FOMC key level bid at 65 half, taken a bid here, and the tendency is for price to continue higher until you see rejection, in which case you'll come back for a retest at some point down the way. So right now, trending up still, sideways right now with an upward bias here heading into the RTH Open. Looking at the NQ, similar price action in the NQ. 22% of ADR, just 53 points of range, and look at that compression right now. A wait and see here. This is a hold after a very bullish day in the previous session. Both the ES and the NQ rallying at the RTH Open after holding the previous session's midpoints, after the ability to really bounce back from overnight and pre-market weakness. This market turned higher and rallied, and now holding at these highs away from the 8-period average, which hasn't been tested since early this month. That shows the intensity of this up move here so far this month. So again, even any pullback right now could still be a buying opportunity until proven otherwise. Your FOMC key level down here could be retested, and that could be an opportunity for bulls to defend and bounce this thing back up. So overall, this thing remains bullish until proven otherwise. At some point here, we might get super overvalued enough to see some sort of blow off top. Maybe it's when we begin next quarter. So again, still pushing higher until proven otherwise, and we'll see how the market responds to Fed Chair Powell at 11:35 a.m. Central. All right, looking at crude oil. This one up 1 1/3% right now, bouncing off the 61.45 zone again. This is like the 4th or 5th time we've come into this zone here, and it's held each and every time. Again, after strength, this market has just been crushed on each and every move. So even if we were to bounce again, it's just not easy to really carry this thing higher for very long. Lower highs here, and at some point 61.45 gets overwhelmed here. It's opening up the 58s down below. Remember that 58.20 is the Fed level from last May. That could be an opportunity to go fill that level down the road. So any bounce could be a selling opportunity up ahead here for crude oil. And we are coming into a bearish seasonal pattern for crude in about a couple of weeks here. First week of, or really the beginning of the second week here of October, can tend to be the sell window for a drop into mid-December. All right, looking at gold futures, up another 1% today. What a squeeze the last 3 days out of gold here. A pullback. We mentioned before that any pullback could be a buying opportunity. How deep do we pull back? Well, it couldn't even get 36.50 on this pullback before it's already squeezing through 3,800 for the first time ever. A big time continuation to the upside. Here's your Fed level right there. Little pullback and a big time push through the level. New all-time highs here again. Yesterday was a plus 2% day. Today already plus 1%. And we are more than halfway through to the target zone. 37.50 is the midpoint. We have exploded through the midpoint. That opens the door again to that 4,000 target that we specified before the breakout because of the width of the previous range. So it was a 500 point back end compression over 4 to 5 months. We knew we'd get a 500-point breakout when the time was right. The time is now, and this thing is marching its way toward 4,000. All right, looking at the YM. Now the YM, the previous session was the one to watch early, especially at the previous sessions or previous week's midpoint. It went just below the previous week's mid yesterday morning and rejected hard, turned and went to a new high here, held, and now today here just 26-27% of ADR, 109 points, a little bit more range respectively against the NQ and the ES, but not much more, and still quite bullish in a compression mode ahead of Fed Chair Powell later on this morning. Look at the bullish Pima trigger zone here, super highly bullish. We haven't tested the 8-period average since earlier this month. Any pullback still remains a buying opportunity until proven otherwise. At some point here, are we getting overvalued? That signal right there is an R3 sell signal against year-to-date VWAP. Not necessarily saying to sell. What it's telling you is we're 3 standard deviations overvalued right now. That doesn't mean we can't get more overvalued. This market can continue to push beyond R3 a bit, but then once we fail to hold it, that could be an indication that we're headed back to value down below. That's currently at 42,991. Current price 46,762. All right, looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's up about 0.75% right now. The previous session, big time selling pressure, a bit of a mini flash crash in Bitcoin, ETH, and XRP. Seen a little pullback here. Is this the beginning of more selling pressure to come? The Bitcoin chart has been much more stable this year against other markets. It's held up here, and while we've seen quite a bit of volatility in various markets here, this one is actually held firm, held value quite well. It is held above 110 and above 100K quite well. Now, if tomorrow is the initial indication of more weakness, it's a continuation of what we've already begun to see prior off the 125 level. Perhaps again there is an opportunity for price to come back toward value near 100K. As I've mentioned before, if we get into 95 to 100K, that could provide the next long-term 50% return. We'll see how deep this market goes down the road. All right, looking at ETH. This one's trading at about a 3-to-1 ratio here against Bitcoin. The previous session was down 7% at one point. Meanwhile, Bitcoin was only down about 2+%. This one right here currently up 1.33%, and at the moment holding above the previous session's low. That was a flash crash low. Is this the initial indication of more weakness to come? Typically speaking, when we start to see that type of price action, it can be the beginning once we've hit highs up here, and we could see more or a series of these days that take us down over the course of the next several weeks. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. 4,000 will give us an indication that that type of action is playing out. We break through 4,000, that's a market structure level. The next 600 might be 34. The next 600 below that will be 28. So how far back do we pull back on this next rotation, if at all? Right now, this market is also over 3 standard deviations overvalued as of yesterday morning, and then we get the sell signal and price is now below. Do we get a rotation back to value up ahead? So warning bells sounding off a bit, especially after yesterday's flash crash move. Is that an indication of more weakness to come? All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out here heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.